must say, reading this really left a hole in my heart. I mean, did not make me cry or anything, but and I may overreact, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, it was a chapter that was that was only meant to be a emotional one. Still, though, I think you really could feel the powerless, the helplessness, as well as the "oh my God, what just happened" moment of this chapter. It's Doctor Stone, chapter 43, and the flashback continues as we see the story about Byakuya Ishigami and how he founded this village. In this one, we see the gang, we see them having reached the space a couple of days before everything turned to stone, and we're introduced to the rest of the crew, including an older man who remarkably looked very similar to old man Kazuki, although not completely, but still has some. Also, one ponytail woman there looks also very similar to that other ponytail girl. Who was she? Was it she called Opal or something? The one who dotes on me. And we're also introduced to a very, very sexy girl that appears to be a little bit of a brat and diva. Apparently, she came here because you didn't donate $1 million. But it turns out her little alpha bitch personality is only way of her acting. She's in general a very sweet and adorable girl. Apparently, she's an idol as well. Is she is an she is an idol and a singer and many things more, and she's very rich. So she is the only one who got on this ship well because she paid everything else. A space tourist. And she, by the way, looks a lot like Ruri and Kohaku. Is there a very. And this seems to once again pull that theory that, yeah, Kohaku and Ruri really are related to Senku, just by a very distant relations. I mean, not that Kohaku showed any interest in Senku, and Senku is not interested in romance, nor for the fact, although Ruri has blushed every time Senku gets close to her. Still, though, if it turns out that they're distantly related, isn't that a little bit a controversial romance? Then again, it's not like they're father and daughter, technically, or something like that. What are they? Distant cousins? Or some distant brothers, sisters? Who knows? I mean, uh, they should be so far apart in blood, so technically they shouldn't be related. But again, this is not yet confirmed, mind you. However, I am very certain that this enormous sexy girl, the great diva Lillian, is most certainly related to Koaku and Ruri. She just she just looks similar. And then the gang keeps on having their adventure in space, and Lillian shows her fan base from everything else, and as and and so Lillian asks about connection. Also, another guy here, a younger guy. He also has a hairstyle that looks strangely similar. I cannot put my finger on it. Who does he look similar most to? I was gonna say the two brothers, Ginro and Kinro, but that's not entirely true. Part of him also seems to have Magma's hairstyle, or someone else. It's just that there's something about his hairstyle that looks very similar. Who knows? Like, anyway, Byakuya mentions a lot about they had a son and how much Senku was not interested in talking to him like that because he's busy about everything else. And it turns out Senku was actually studying why the swallows were turned into stone, meaning that this now his mystery of why everything turned to stone seems to have a different connection. And so the the days passed, a couple more days, and the and the gang were eating their space food, And just as one of them were eating his space food, suddenly he got a shock face, and that was actually the moment that greatly affected me, because he looked out the space mirror, so to speak, and says, "Look at the window at Earth." And a huge explosion. Mind you, you can even see it from space, mind you. This confirms it that the entire world was frozen into, was petrified. I mean, duh, we saw that even in the first chapter. But damn, this explosion was so huge that even space saw it. That was no meager explosion. It was almost like a nuclear war. Although in reality, I wonder if that even is possible. It's still not explained what that explosion was, but they see that explosion. And Byakuya can only worry about his son. As the explosion fades away, they immediately try to contact everyone down there, but no one picks up. So they try to, and the gang begins really to panic what is going on. And so the gang tries to connect to a stationary camera, to a website, to see what's going on. And to their fear, they manage to see a picture, a picture of a stadium of people who were watching football. Every single one of them petrified. I'm telling you that there's just emotion in this chapter. The hopelessness these feels. These people then they begin to argue what are they to do now, because they cannot believe that there are so many billion people in the world can be petrified. What are they gonna do now? Byakuya says that they need to go back. However, we they some protest. However, Byakuya makes the point that these last six people are the last six of humanity. Three girls and three guys, uh, and they cannot wait for help. All of humanity, they need to help all of humanity, all 7 billions of them. This is the start of their journey back towards the planet. How they landed, though, no idea. However, we're introduced to a lot of people here, and given how they look, I think we can argue that at least some of the Stone Village people are definitely descendants from these six people. So, but again, is Byakuya did Byakuya really have a romance with Lilia? Hmm, who knows? Again, repeating that. But yeah, I felt this chapter left a wounded heart in me reading. I mean, it's not that it was that emotional that I cried, but I could just really feel the helplessness of the characters just watching this. And because this time the explosion felt a little bit more dramatic than it used to. So next time the gang will try to make it back to Earth. But they never managed to help humanity, because after all, there's only a few people in the village. And I highly doubt those six people were the only ones that decided to breed. Because in the end, does that not mean that their children had to breed with their children and vice versa? I mean, that would not have been so very good. But again, it's clear that they did not manage to save humanity. But what really happened? The plot thickens. Give me your thoughts if you have any.